rather degrading women's rights, and secondly about what is the benefit of that slut walking. Firstly, about the harms. Why it rather degrading women's rights. Our Prime Minister beauty of analysis was that why this woman materialize herself and make her body as a tool, because she know that journalists and people tend to pay attention to women's body, naked or bikini body. We believe this woman know this kind of things and use this kind of fact and want to say her voice and want to have more people's attention. So he take off her clothes and make journalists and make people to pay more attention to her opinion. We think, but the problem is because the idea that she want to say is that don't materialize the woman. So to express this idea, she cannot materialize her body in the first place. So to say don't materialize woman's body because she materialized herself, there is clear harm because she materialized herself in the first place. People are not gonna respect that woman in the first place. So it is directly harm to herself in the first place. And secondly, people will not listen to her idea because the idea is don't materialize woman, but she already materialized herself. So she cannot spread her idea in the first place. People will not recognize her idea. This is a second harm in the first place. And we gave you the idea how is it harm to the holistic level to the woman by degrading women's empowerment movement that was historically, that's something that was effort from the woman in the historical way. We gave you the idea how women struggle and fight with the norm, social norm that men's oppressing the woman. They fought for very, very many years. And so in the current situation, they barely get some kind of dignity. They barely get some kind of status, social status. Now women have achieved a lot of things. That was the struggle and effort of women in the past history. But by doing this kind of things, contradicting themselves, we clearly think this is going against the women's empowerment movement. That was the effort from the women in the past. So we believe it is clearly because it is clearly go against the effort of a woman in the past history. We believe it brings harm to every woman in the society in the first place. And secondly, what is the benefit of slut walking in the first place? Let's look into their argument, Madam Adjudicator. Because they wasted their first argument to talk about why we have to change the negative norms against the woman's sexual image and negative norms about the word slut, which is government side already agreed. This is very problem because their first argument should be very important things, but they wasted their first argument to explain about what both sides already agreed. Because government side also wants to change the negative norm to the woman. That is not the issue of today's debate. We also want to change the negative image of the woman, negative terms toward the woman. But the problem is doing this slut walking never change anything, never solve the problems, but rather bring more harm to the society, which was elaborated in my first issues. A second argument about their solvency, which was dealt with the deputy leader of opposition. It seems like they think that there is no women's feminist movement there is no proper feminist movement in the current situation. So women don't have a proper way to elevate their right in current situation. They think that women should take off their clothes to bring huge impact to the society. But Mr. Speaker, we don't think this is a proper method to deliver their idea and raising their elevate their right in the first place. But because we clearly gave you the idea, it is directly materialize their body in the first place. So we don't think by making their bodies as a tool, don't have a solvency or don't have any effectiveness to deliver their idea that don't materialize women in the first place. So in today's debate, because deputy leader of opposition had no argument, and their leader of opposition argument, first argument was wasted, and second argument had no proof about their benefit. We believe only harms is stand in today's debate. So we strongly propose. Thank you.
to it.
Madam Speaker, we think that the notion that men being playboy is in fact praising how he can use his sexual ability very well, while woman being slut means she's just a slut, very cheap, vulgar slut. That notion itself has to be challenged. That notion itself is very discriminatory. Why should we praise men's sexuality, men's ability to embrace their sexuality, while we condemn women for being proud of who they are? We think that Slut Walk exactly challenged that notion. We think that today's government has really failed to understand the reason behind women voluntarily taking their clothes off and proudly walking down the street. We think that they simply generalize it as saying women wearing bikinis for the hell of it. We better gave you the understanding of the reason behind it. We gave you the reason why us women taking their clothes off on the street is that we are showing the control over our own sexuality. We are showing the fact that we are proud enough not to be ashamed to show our own shapes, to show our own sexual attractiveness. Now they have completely negated this point and told us that, oh, they don't get respect, so it's bad. We think that that itself shows how they're ignorant to connect women's sexuality with negative connotations. Now, on that point, I'd like to give you 3 points of clashes. First of all, the clash between the comparison of the objective of Slut Walk. Secondly, comparison of what it does. And thirdly, the comparison of the consequences, the benefits and the harms. Yes, but before I do that...
What about the audience? Do they focus on their message or their boobs and vagina?
Okay, I'll explain that later. For your, seriously, vagina, show some respect. Now, saying that, having said that, let me move on to my first clash, comparison of the objective. Now, I've already told you how government is ignorant enough to say that, oh, women taking their clothes off and wearing bikinis for the hell of it is called a slut walk. Now, we challenge this. We've told you, Madam Speaker, that the objectification means women are the passive part in that act. The notion that our society has today is that men are the aggressors. Men always have the control. Men choose to objectify women. Men look at women and think that they want to sleep with her. That is called objectification. Now we challenge this, and the reason why women go about the streets and wearing bikinis is that they are showing control over their own sexuality. They are showing that I'm proud of my sexuality, and me wearing short skirts, me wearing tight clothes, isn't me asking for men to objectify myself. We told you that that is the reason, exact reason, that is the irony that the word slut walk has, because they're challenging the notion that being slut, in fact, isn't that negative. Being proud of your sexual attractiveness, being proud of your sexuality shouldn't be connected to vulgarness, shouldn't be connected to being cheap. Now they completely misunderstood and told us that a woman using their body is really negative, so let's not do it. I challenge you that me having my voice, so I like my voice, so I use my voice to attract attention from you honorable chairs, is in fact exactly like me liking my body, me liking my shapes. So utilizing my body to attract attention, to get across my message. Now they fail to respond to this, therefore we take this clash home. Now again, we tell you that the notion that women exposing themselves is asking for objectification itself is abhorrent, and they better prepare. They can't. They don't have any chance. Therefore, we take this clash home. Now, second clash, what it does. Now, what it does, what Slut Walk does, we believe, is that they've conceded to the fact that, Madam Speaker, that journalists sensationalize this issue, that people sensationalize this issue. People look at the pictures, people read the articles about how 500 women went to Myeongdong and took their clothes off. Now they've already conceded to this. Now my first speaker has clearly told you, Madam Speaker, that that sensationalization, that debate itself is crucial at the point of social rights movement. Why? Because back then, when Rosa Parks actually rode on the bus, not everybody would have liked it. Not everybody would have agreed with it. Not everybody would have truly thought thought about what she actually meant. We think that that action itself that attracts attention is the starting point. That's a crucial starting point of the revitalizing of the debate, of the actually creating a debate that hasn't been created before. Why do we say so? Because we've already explained to you, Madam Speaker, that the problem is that people take things for granted. People take the notion that playboys are good, people take the notion that sluts are bad for granted. To challenge that granted notion, you need a shocking action. You need to inform people that this is an action, this is a debate that should happen, and that you need to challenge people so that the challenge that slut walk is bad, slut walk is good, slut is bad, slut is good, should be continued. We think that slut walk does exactly that. Therefore, we achieve our notion. No. We think that the fact of the matter is that women, sometimes, first of all, do not really agree with first of all, women are objectified, therefore in a sense they're in a passive position. And second of all, we think that the notion that women being scared of objectification, so therefore they should cover their bodies, itself is an oppression. Therefore we think that the challenging of the notion by showing the women taking their clothes off is in fact very crucial. Now they told us that, oh, journalists only take pictures of women's bodies. And we think that, no thank you sir, we think that that itself, the act is so strong, the act is so powerful, we think that we don't really need people to look at the picket. Well, if they do, it's good, but the act itself is very powerful. Now having said that, let me move on to my third point of clash, the benefits. Now they told us that, oh, we already have affirmative action, so that's good. But we tell you that affirmative action was achieved way before. We're talking about the status quo, whether people actually care about women's rights movement. We tell you that it doesn't. People don't really care about women's rights movement as much because we think that it's somewhat achieved. We think that it's at some level that it's achieved so that people don't really care as much. We care about gay rights movement, we care about transsexual movements, but we don't really care as much about women's rights movement because we think that that's not refreshing. We think that that doesn't deserve as much attention. But what it does is that we think that it attracts people's attention to the big agenda of women's rights movement as a whole. Because if we just start discussing the small agenda of the slut being the negative connotation, people naturally care about the big agenda of women's rights movement as itself. We inform people about that this debate is still going on. We inform people that there's a new agenda to newly be discussed. Therefore, we revitalize the notion itself of the women's rights movement that people still need to pay attention to whether women have the same social status as men or not. So, all in all, Madam Speaker, what have we discussed? Now, we think that today's government was completely abhorrent to think that women being proud of their body, being proud of their sexuality is in fact bad. Now we tell you that these ladies on the streets are not asking to be treated like the First Lady. They're asking for that attention, they're asking for that debate, and that's exactly what they're getting. Therefore, we think that the Slut Walk is doing exactly what it's supposed to. And please sign for the negative button. Thank you.
Speakers spoke for 7 minutes and 19 seconds. Thank you, Opposition Whip, for your speech. Let's now move on to the replies from Opposition Reply.
Well, thank you again, Madam Speakers and members of the House. First of all, I weep for humanity. You see, the government team, what we are trying to say here, what the opposition team has been desperately trying to say, is that this debate is not a question of whether we should falsely burden each other, falsely burden each other on whether materialization is bad or not, but actually the question of should we actually break down the falsely free wheel we are going around on. You see, what our opposition team has been clearly saying to you is that the notion that men exposing their sexuality is okay, while women exposing their sexuality automatically equals objectification. That's the norm of the society, and that's what we should tackle. That's exactly what we have been saying. But what the government team has been saying is that they have simply been deeply analyzing the problems within our society and saying that affirmative action was all that was needed, and it is unnecessary to strip out. But we have clearly we are clearly showing shame at the government because they're automatically translating the desperate cries for change within the social norms as nothing but an effect of materialization. They cannot read between the lines, and they're only perverted enough to only look at the boobs and not something, the message that relies behind there. We are trying to say that slut walks are actually a method that promotes and tackles what is taken for granted. You see, there is nobody that's more hopelessly trapped than those that believe that they are falsely free and equal. You see, that aspect is what is happening within our society. People take the term sluts as granted. They believe that it is only just that it be automatically considered this way. We believe that that's not the situation. That was our analysis. We tried to take this on a different level. We tried to tackle the notion, the wrong social consensus itself, while they were victims of the wrong social consensus. We are trying to promote a change, and that change has an exclusive solvency to the slut walks, which we have actually analyzed for you. You see, basically the debate was this. We have elaborated our situation on how desperate the situation was, and kindly enough, they did too. So the commonality here is that women are being materialized. So we have to say that the notion that women's sexuality equals objectification and materialization is a bad thing. But the feminist movement is not receiving enough attention. So a shock therapy called slut walks have come in, showing that women are not objects, that rapists cannot say the simple quote, they were asking for it. That embracing their sexuality is a thing that should be granted to them. That the word slut is not a thing. Not a thing that we believe in the social status. It should be changed. But they have said that, well, political affirmative action is enough. But we have clearly told you that what's taken for granted in society, affirmative action does not go there. Once they believe that they're falsely equal, there is no need for affirmative action. That's the basic problem here. Because they believe that it is granted and it is accepted within the society, there cannot be any action. So that's the reason why we're attacking the notion of it being equal or being taken for granted in the very first place. We have proven to you the efficiency of the slut walks and how it promotes the debate on the actual question of what people have also been taking for granted. We are taking this to a further new level while they have been analyzing on the perspective of a very victimized scale of a negative social consensus. We are tackling the social consensus itself. We are tackling the very fundamentals that make the discrimination within our society, and we believe that slut walks create the positive/negative attention that actually becomes the catalyst for this to happen, for this to change, and for this to actually spread out into other areas of feminist movement, which creates a better society that pursues gender equality, which is actually for the status quo, for the people, for the men, for the woman, and for us all. So, because of these reasons, please be rational and don't be victimized by a negative social consensus, and please try to change what is taken for granted and be with team opposition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you opposition for reply. Let's now end the debate with government reply.
We agree that negative notion and negative image toward the women, and we change the negative impact toward the women. But the problem is that the slut worker is not changing this negative image, negative notion, and that means that brings a more harm than good through the slut worker. Because people don't respect her ideas, because she materialized herself, so people are focusing on her body, not on opinion. So we think that this is a problem. So I will give the 4 points to explain our scheme. The first, the whip speaker said the women want to proudly show off their body. But Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, this is a totally new matter by the whip speaker, so we think that this is not stand in this motion. Secondly, I think there is a spy on the KU's team, because Aaron says they don't materialize women, but Aaron said one materialized woman is problem. So we think that one of them are a spy in the KU. And third, as our Deputy Prime Minister clearly said, the men prejudice toward the woman as a negative perception increased by the slut worker, but no rebuttals, no engagement from the KU. So we think that this is stand in this debate. The KU's first argument is we must change the notion, but it's not a benefit of the slut worker, so we think that this is a problem. And secondly, there is a problem with solvency because the slut worker is effective. But the problem is that they say that this is the benefit because they agree that this idea is that woman should not be the materialized. So we think that this is not an effect, not a benefit because the woman uses the materialized. So we think that this is the fourth problem of the KU. So we think that this is why we win in this debate. So I will keep and deeply analyze this why we take the home in this debate. In this way, the opposition team stance is this. If the woman wants to attract the notion, the method is no important. Just actively saying opinion is important, no matter woman or their body as a materialized. But this is a very shameful idea because, firstly, through this processing, woman cannot achieve their hope because our government team is clearly said the woman used her body to make her body as a tool. So this is a directly contradiction because the reason why women do the slut work is because to tell the men and to tell the public they do not use the woman, do not use my body as a material. So we think that this is a contradiction to herself opinion and the public's attention. So this is why women do so like it's a good. So we think that this is very harmful to the society. This is exactly the degrade herself, there's value. So and also the men also do not respect the woman because woman herself use her body as a tool. So the men do not respect the woman because the woman is herself do not respect her body because they use the woman as a material. So we think that this is a very harm in this motion. So in those reasons, the slut worker is a more harm than good. So Madam Chair, I can raise my voice with my wearing the clothes. However, even if my voice is very small, I don't use my body as a material because it is directly degrading my value and the status. This is a problem in this motion. This is why our slut worker is having the more harm than good. So those reasons we